Oil prices dropped below $100 a barrel on Tuesday, down from $130 a barrel last week. Senator Bernie Sanders pointed out the dip in costs, saying, "Why is the price of oil lower today than it was in 2014, while the average price for a gallon of gas is 80 cents more?" The answer: corporate greed.
Meanwhile, China has signed a $10 billion contract with Saudi Arabia to build oil refineries in China that will be supplied with Russian oil. It's reported that Saudi Arabia is close to accepting the yuan for oil trade with China, replacing the U.S. dollar. China said it has taken an objective stance on Russia as the administration raises concerns over China and Russia's alignment. Here's the Pentagon press secretary addressing those concerns.
We've already said that certainly that there would be consequences for China to get involved on the side of Russia in that kind of a regard. And I wouldn't want to speculate beyond that. What I would tell you, though, Wolf, is clearly, at the very least, China has given their tacit approval to Mr. Putin for this unprovoked war. They said that they're not going to impose sanctions and that the sanctions imposed by others are illegal. They said that they want to help broker a peace, but they've done nothing at all to that end. And they have blamed the United States and Ukraine for actually precipitating this conflict, which just is an incredible statement. So we haven't seen anything from China that would indicate or certainly give us comfort that they are going to do anything other than at least provide some sort of tacit approval to Mr. Putin.
Our rising panel will join us now to weigh in. Michael Starr Hopkins is director of Waxman and a Democratic strategist, and Amy Tarkanian is a Republican strategist and the former chairwoman of the Nevada GOP. Thank you to you both.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
So, Michael, I'll start with you. I think it's very worrisome, of course, how having China and Russia in kind of close emotional proximity. Obviously, this deal is concerning, and what China has said about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, or said or not said, also concerning. So where does this leave the U.S.? How do we handle this? And maybe we take some comfort in thinking that if China is watching this invasion and is getting the impression that this was more of a debacle than they expected, maybe it makes them less likely to do some things they might have been thinking about doing. But that's really the only silver lining that I can see.
Yeah, look, historically, we've gone full circle. We now have China and Russia as allies, two countries that were enemies, 30 years ago. And so I think we really got to take a second and pause and look at how China makes the decisions they make. They make decisions in 100-year increments. We're making decisions election to election. And so it becomes much harder to be able to take on our adversaries when they're constantly looking at a long view. And so I think we really need to think about, one, how we go about making sure that Russia pays for the decisions it's made, how we stop Russia from extending its grasp on what they want to be the new Soviet Union. And then as we look at China, how we declare independence from China when it comes to things like, technology chips, when it comes to things like their ability to dominate marketplaces or their ability to create fake companies and put them across the stock market. So I think we really need to take a holistic view.
And Amy, what do you make of the Saudi-Russian-Chinese oil deal? Are you as concerned as some in the White House would be that this could undermine basically the petrodollar system that the U.S. has been profiting from for nearly 100 years at this point?
Yes, and I think the fact that we are hearing that Saudi Arabia is not taking President Biden's phone call, I think would further confirm that this is actually taking place and it's moving forward. Michael mentioned how China and Russia weren't always buddy-buddy, but the one thing they do have in common is world domination and the need for power. And so, of course, they're going to partner up and do whatever it takes to hurt the United States of America. And I think that I'm going to say this, so hold on to your seats. I actually agree with the statement that Bernie Sanders made with regards to corporate greed and the way that the oil companies are jacking up the prices. Michael, as we know, is going to be moving to the West Coast, so I welcome him. But he's going to be he's going to have the unwelcome of the gas prices anywhere from $5 to $7 a gallon, which is something that cannot continue. And I just don't see an end in sight anytime soon.
Yeah, Michael, and actually Michael and I are going to be on the same flight going back to LA tomorrow and enjoying the sunshine and those really high gas prices. I mean, in my neighborhood right now, it's like pushing up almost $6 a gallon. It's really, really high. But Michael, what do you think the administration should do in order to counter this? What's the solution? I mean, if China and Russia are partnering up, Saudi Arabia clearly is also buddying up to them and saying, all right, I'll just do business with whoever, which kind of makes us wonder what our relationship with Saudi Arabia maybe should shift and change. Do you think, what do you think the administration should do to counter this, if anything at all?
I think there's conversations we had about, whether or not we're going to release some of the reserves. But I think in general, look, international relations is complicated. Joe Biden believes that we shouldn't be talking to MBS. We should be talking to his father, which I think, frankly, is the right approach given MBS's behavior. But overall, when we think of Russia and China, look, they are kind of the new adversaries. China's propping up Russia. Russia's economy is in practically default. And so I think we need to keep putting the screws to them. I think we need to make sure that Russia feels the pain, and where we can, I think we need to make sure that China feels the pain as well. These
Michael,
wannabe super.
Yeah, on that point with MBS, I mean, the reason why Saudi Arabia, one of the big reasons why Saudi Arabia has now started to play footsie, and now it doesn't even seem to be footsie, full-on date Russia and China, is because the administration, the Obama administration, the Biden administration refused to meet with MBS. He's really ultimately running that country, and it's rude, according to that, from their perspective, to not recognize that.
Yeah, it's also rude to kill Washington Post reporters. I think that at some point we have to take moral stands. And yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to hurt the pocketbooks. But things like the child tax credit would at least put money back in American families' hands and make this pain a little less. And those are things that I think Democrats could do. And if Joe Manchin, who calls himself a Democrat, would ever get on board, then we could at least lessen the pain of the American family.
Yeah, so obviously we want to take moral stands. Ideally, we want to be moral. We want to, encourage or reward moral behavior from other countries. I think a crisis like this shows how difficult that can be in practice when, we have such a wide range, so many bad actors, but we can't be unfriendly to all of them at once. Like now we're talking to Venezuela. Now we want to talk to Saudi Arabia because Russia is this greater concern. And it's like we can't, do we have to prioritize better, Amy?
Listen, I agree with Michael that it was disgusting for what Saudi Arabia did to the Washington Post journalist. However, when we had President Trump, he was reprimanded for going over to North Korea, and Kim Jong-un is he's not a cakewalk either, and he's not a nice guy. But I think that we're now having to get past the point of, are our morals higher or lower or equal? We have to deal with the worst of the worst in order to make sure that we can save as many lives as possible and we can have the best deals as possible. So I think that this administration needs to be aware, of course, that we're dealing with evil, but they do need to open up lines of communication.
Well, Amy, Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll have more Rising right after this.